never thought I would be telling this story. Not because it is unbelievable, but because it still hurts to breathe when I remember it. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I was a mother who trusted her son with everything she had. I'm 72 years old. I worked for 48 years without missing a single month. I cleaned offices at night, raised children during the day, skipped meals so my son could have school shoes that fit. Every dollar I saved had a purpose: security, dignity, a roof over my head when my body finally gave up. My son used to call me every Sunday. "Mom, don't worry. I'll always take care of you." I believed him. When my husband died, the silence in the house became unbearable. The walls echoed with memories, and every night felt longer than the last. That's when my son suggested something that sounded like love. "Why don't you let me help manage your finances?" "You're getting older, Mom. I just want to make things easier for you." He said it gently, patiently, like a son who cared. I signed the papers because I trusted the hands that once held mine when I crossed the street. At first, nothing changed. My pension came in. The bills were paid. He would even show me statements, smiling, reassuring me. "See? Everything's fine." Then, slowly, the questions started. "Mom, do you really need cable? Why keep so much money sitting there? Let me invest some of it for you." I didn't see danger. I saw my little boy, the one who cried when he lost his first tooth. The first time I noticed something was wrong was when my card was declined at the grocery store. Just once. Probably the machine, I told myself. But then it happened again and again. I called my son. "Oh, that's strange," he said casually. "I'll check it tomorrow." Tomorrow never came. One afternoon, I opened my mailbox and found a letter that made my hands shake. Final notice. Rent overdue. Utilities pending disconnection. I laughed at first, then I cried. Because I had money. Or at least, I thought I did. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something inside me whispered that I had already lost more than money. That was only the beginning. The next morning, I went to the bank. I remember how cold it felt inside. Not the air conditioning, but the looks. The quiet keyboards. The polite smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes. I stood in line holding my purse like it was the last thing that belonged to me. When it was my turn, I slid my ID under the glass. "I need to check my account," I said. The young woman typed for a moment. Then she stopped. Her fingers froze above the keyboard. "Ma'am, are you sure this is the right account?" My heart dropped. "Yes," I said. "That's my pension account. I've had it for years." She swallowed. "I'm sorry, but there's almost nothing left." I laughed. Out loud. It came out sharp and wrong. "That's not possible," I said. "There must be a mistake." She turned the screen toward me. The numbers stared back like strangers. Balances I didn't recognize. Withdrawals I didn't approve. Transfers made in my son's name. I felt dizzy. "Where did it go?" I whispered. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I walked out of that bank a different person. Outside, the sun was shining. People were laughing. Cars passed like nothing had happened. My world had collapsed and no one noticed. I called my son. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. By the time he finally picked up, my voice was shaking. "They say the account is empty," I said. "What did you do?" He sighed. Loudly. Annoyed. "Mom, calm down. You're overreacting." Overreacting. "I needed the money," he continued. "I had expenses. You weren't even using it." I couldn't breathe. "That money was my life," I said. "My future." There was a pause. Then he said something I will never forget. "You should be grateful I helped you as long as I did." That was the moment my son stopped being my son. A week later, I received another letter. Eviction notice. I had 30 days to leave the home I had lived in for 23 years. I went to my son's house. I stood on his porch, holding that letter with hands that trembled from fear and betrayal. He opened the door. Behind him, I could see a new couch, a large TV, boxes still unpacked, my money. "Mom, this isn't a good time," he said. "I have nowhere to go," I replied. He looked past me, not at me. "You'll figure something out." Then he closed the door. I sat on his steps until it got dark. That night, I slept in my car. And I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just broke. I was alone. I didn't tell anyone I was sleeping in my car. Pride is a strange thing. It stays even when everything else is gone. I parked behind a grocery store where the lights stayed on all night. I folded my coat into a pillow and listened to the sounds of strangers living their normal lives. Doors closing, engines starting, laughter drifting through the air. I had never felt so invisible. In the mornings, I washed my face in public restrooms and pretended I was just another customer. I learned how to stretch a single sandwich across an entire day. Hunger became a dull ache I carried quietly. On the third night, it rained. Water leaked through the cracked seal of my car window and soaked my clothes. I sat there shaking, cold and scared, whispering prayers I wasn't sure anyone was listening to. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from my son. "We need to talk. You can't keep making scenes." Making scenes? I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. I typed and erased 100 replies. In the end, I sent only one sentence. "I just need help." He never responded. The next morning, a police officer tapped on my window. "Ma'am, you can't park here overnight." I nodded ashamed and drove away without knowing where to go. By noon, my gas light was on. That's when I saw the sign. Community shelter. Meals and beds available. I sat in the car for 10 minutes staring at those words. Then I cried harder than I had since my husband died. Inside, the shelter smelled like soup and disinfectant. The people there avoided eye contact, like we were all afraid of seeing ourselves in each other. A volunteer handed me a blanket. "You're safe here," she said gently. Safe. That night, lying on a narrow bed surrounded by strangers, I thought about every sacrifice I'd made, every birthday gift I skipped, every overtime shift I worked, and how easily it had been taken. I wondered if this was how my story ended. But then, something unexpected happened. A woman sat down beside me. She was around my age, with kind eyes and tired hands. "You look like someone who used to be strong," she said. I didn't answer. She smiled softly. "So was I." Her name was Eleanor. She spoke quietly, like someone who had learned that loud words didn't change much. We sat there. Two women wrapped in thin blankets, sharing the kind of silence that didn't need explanations. "I lost my home 3 years ago," she said. "Not because I was reckless, because I trusted the wrong people." I felt something tighten in my chest. She told me how her niece had promised to help with paperwork after her stroke, how signatures became weapons, how kindness turned into contracts she didn't understand. "They always say it's for your own good," Eleanor said, "until it isn't." I nodded. For the first time since the bank, I felt seen. Over the next few days, we ate together, talked in whispers at night. She never asked about my son. I never said his name. Some wounds don't need poking to bleed. One afternoon, a volunteer announced free legal consultations. Just basic advice, she said, for housing and finances. I almost didn't go. Then Eleanor squeezed my hand. Sometimes, she said, help looks like a door you're afraid to open. The lawyer was young but attentive. He listened without interrupting as I explained slowly, carefully, what had happened. He asked for documents. I laughed bitterly. My son has everything. Do you have anything at all? He asked. I thought of the old shoebox under my car seat. Receipts, letters, bank notices I never understood. Yes, I said. I might. That night, I went back to my car and searched until my fingers ached. I found old statements, a power of attorney copy, dates, amounts, patterns. When I showed them to the lawyer, his expression changed. Ma'am, he said gently, this isn't just betrayal. It's a crime. The word echoed in my head. Crime. I imagined my son's face, his voice telling me to be grateful. What happens now? I whispered. He leaned back. Now we find out where the money went. The investigation didn't happen fast. That was the hardest part. Every day felt like waiting for a storm that refused to arrive. I stayed at the shelter, helping in the kitchen to feel useful. Eleanor and I folded laundry together, shared stories, laughed softly when the memories weren't too painful. But at night, fear returned. What if nothing happened? What if he got away with it? The lawyer called me in one afternoon. We traced several transfers, he said. Large amounts, all leading to accounts connected to your son. My hands shook. He bought a car, the lawyer continued, paid off debts, renovated his house. Each sentence felt like another door slamming shut. But there's more, he added. He showed me photos, luxury vacations, restaurants I had never seen, smiles I no longer recognized. While I slept in my car, my son was living comfortably on the money I earned, cleaning toilets. I felt something inside me harden. This isn't just financial abuse, the lawyer said. It's elder exploitation. For the first time, I wasn't just a victim, I was a case. A few days later, my son called. His voice was different. Mom, why are lawyers contacting me? I said nothing. Mom, he pressed. What did you do? I took a deep breath. I told the truth, I said. There was silence, then anger. How could you do this to me? He shouted. After everything I've done for you? I looked at the cracked wall in front of me, the thin blanket, Eleanor's shoes by the bed. You did this to yourself, I replied quietly. He hung up. 2 weeks later, I received another letter. Not a bill, not a warning, a court notice. I held it like it might disappear if I blinked. For the first time in months, I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. The court date was set for 3 months later. 3 months felt like a lifetime. During that time, my son stopped calling, stopped texting. It was as if I had died before my body ever gave up. I told myself it didn't hurt anymore. That was a lie. One afternoon, as I was leaving the legal clinic, I saw him. He was standing across the street talking to someone. A woman. She was younger than him, well-dressed, perfect hair, perfect smile. Her hand rested possessively on his arm. His wife. I watched from a distance. She leaned in close, whispering something into his ear. Whatever it was made his shoulders tense. His face hardened. She laughed. It wasn't a warm laugh. It was sharp, controlled, confident. When he turned away from her, his eyes met mine for just a second. There was fear there. Then she noticed me. Her smile vanished instantly. She pulled him closer and said something quickly. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the effect. He looked away. That night, Eleanor noticed I barely touched my food. "You saw something," she said. "I think he isn't alone in this," I replied. Over the next weeks, small details began to surface. The lawyer showed me documents with unfamiliar signatures, hers. Joint accounts opened shortly after their marriage. Transfers approved minutes after arguments recorded in messages. Patterns. Control. "She has access," the lawyer said carefully. "An influence." I remembered moments I had ignored. How she spoke for him, how she answered questions meant for him, how he looked at her before answering me. Love can be beautiful, but it can also be a leash. A week before the trial, my son finally called. His voice sounded tired, older. "Mom, I didn't mean for it to go this far." I stayed silent. "She just wanted a better life," he said quickly. "She said it was temporary." "Temporary?" "I was trying to be a good husband," he whispered. "I didn't know how to say no." For the first time, I heard something new in his voice. Not anger, not entitlement, fear and guilt. But the truth, the full truth, was still buried. And it would only surface when everything finally collapsed. The courtroom was quieter than I expected. No shouting, no drama. Just the sound of truth being slowly unfolded. My son sat at the defendant's table, his hands folded tightly in front of him. He hadn't looked at me once. His wife sat behind him, perfectly composed, legs crossed, eyes calm. Too calm. The judge asked questions. The lawyer presented documents, dates, numbers, signatures. When the bank statements appeared on the screen, I felt my chest tighten. Transfers approved within minutes. Large withdrawals following arguments. Accounts opened without my knowledge. Then the lawyer said her name. My daughter-in-law. For the first time, she shifted in her seat. The judge turned toward her. "Ma'am, were you aware of these transactions?" She smiled politely. "I trusted my husband," she said. "He handled everything." But the lawyer was ready. He presented messages. Her messages. "If your mother really loved you, she wouldn't hold on to that money. We deserve better than scraps. You're choosing her comfort over our future." The room felt smaller. My son swallowed hard. "She didn't mean it like that," he said quickly. "She was just stressed." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Stress does not explain repeated financial exploitation." That's when she spoke again. This time, her voice changed. "Are we really going to ruin a family over money?" she said sharply. "She's old. She doesn't even need it anymore." Something broke inside me, but I didn't speak. I watched my son. His hands were shaking. For the first time, he looked at her, not with love, but confusion. The judge ordered a recess. In the hallway, I stood alone. Then my son approached me. "Mom," he said softly. "I didn't know it looked like this." I met his eyes. "This is what it was," I replied. Behind him, she watched us, and this time, her smile was gone. The courtroom had gone silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from order, but the kind that comes from shock. My son didn't look at her anymore. He looked at me. His voice was barely audible. "Mom." That single word carried years of distance, anger, pride, all breaking at once. "I didn't know," he said. "I swear I didn't." Tears filled his eyes, and for the first time since he was a child, he didn't wipe them away. "She told me you wanted to control me," he continued. "She said you never believed in me. that you'd always see me as a failure. My heart tightened. She said, "If I didn't protect us, I'd lose her," he whispered. And I was so afraid of being alone that I stopped listening to everyone else. He lowered his head. "I loved her," he said, broken. "I still do. Or at least, I thought I did." Then he looked up again, and his eyes begged. "She needs help," he said quietly. "She's sick. She manipulates people. She doesn't even know who she really is anymore." The courtroom stirred. I felt every eye on me. After everything she had taken, after everything he had destroyed, he was asking me for help. "I know I hurt you," he said, his voice cracking. "I know I took everything you worked for." His hands clenched together. "But I can't do this alone," he whispered, "and I don't want to lose my mother forever." That's when something inside me shifted, not forgiveness yet, but something older, something deeper. Love. I stood up slowly. Every bone in my body felt heavy, not because I was weak, but because forgiveness is never light. I looked at my son. Not the man who took my savings, not the stranger who left me homeless, but the little boy who once held my hand crossing the street. "I forgive you," I said. The room exhaled. My son broke completely. He sobbed, openly, uncontrollably covering his face with his hands. "I forgive you," I repeated louder this time. "Because you are my son. Because love doesn't disappear even when it's hurt." Then I turned and faced her. She was staring at me, frozen. My voice changed. "But you," I said calmly, "are not my daughter." The silence sharpened. "You didn't make a mistake," I continued. "You made a choice. Again and again." She laughed nervously. "You're blaming me for his actions," she snapped. I didn't raise my voice. "No," I replied. "I'm holding you responsible for your own." I stepped closer. "You didn't just steal money," I said. "You stole trust, families, years of peace." Her smile faded. "You use love as a weapon," I said, "and I will not forgive that." My son looked up, torn. "Mom," he whispered. I placed my hand over his. "Forgiveness doesn't mean blindness," I said softly. "And love doesn't mean enabling evil." She stood there, exposed. No charm left, no mask, just the truth, and it terrified her. After my words, no one spoke. Not the judge, not the lawyers, not even her. Silence settled like dust after a collapse. My son kept staring at our joined hands as if afraid that if he looked away I might disappear again. "I don't deserve this," he whispered. I squeezed his fingers gently. "Deserving has nothing to do with being loved," I said, "and everything to do with what you do next." Across the room, she shifted in her seat. Her leg bounced nervously. For someone who once controlled every room she entered, she suddenly looked small, fragile, almost ordinary. But I knew better. I had lived long enough to recognize danger when it wore a quiet face. The judge called for a recess. People stood. Chairs scraped the floor. My son hesitated. "Will you wait for me?" he asked softly. I nodded. "I'm not leaving," I said. "Not today." His breath trembled as he exhaled. Across the room, she watched us. Her eyes burned, not with love, with loss of control. As deputies escorted her out temporarily, she leaned toward him. "You're making a mistake," she hissed under her breath. "They'll turn on you, too." He flinched, but he didn't follow her. That alone told me something had finally broken. Outside the courtroom, the hallway smelled like old paper and coffee. I sat on a hard wooden bench. My son stood pacing, rubbing his face again and again. "I ruined everything," he said. You broke something, I corrected gently. But broken isn't the same as gone. He stopped. Do you really believe that? I looked up at him. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. He sank down beside me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Sometimes healing doesn't sound like forgiveness. Sometimes it sounds like breathing again. As we sat there, waiting, my mind drifted backward. Not by choice. Memory has a way of opening doors you thought were sealed forever. I remembered his first day of school. How his backpack was too big for his small shoulders. How he cried, clinging to my leg, afraid I would leave him. You'll come back, right? He had asked. I always do, I told him. I wondered when he stopped believing that. I remembered late nights at the kitchen table, bills spread out, my hands tired, his small voice asking if everything was going to be okay. It will be, I said, even when I wasn't sure. I worked 2 jobs back then, came home exhausted, but I never missed a meal with him, never missed a bedtime story, never missed saying, I love you. Beside me now, he stared at the floor. I used to think you were indestructible, he said suddenly, that nothing could ever hurt you. I smiled sadly. Mothers aren't indestructible, I said. We're just quiet about the pain. He swallowed hard. I forgot that, he whispered. I remembered the day he left home. Suitcase in one hand, confidence in the other. I'll take care of you one day, he promised. I believed him. That promise echoed painfully in my chest. He rubbed his eyes. She told me you were trying to keep me small, he admitted. That you didn't want me to succeed. I turned to him. Did that ever sound like me? I asked. He shook his head slowly. No, he said. It never did. Memory after memory rose between us. Not accusations, not anger, just truth. And truth is harder to escape than lies. He stared at the floor, then finally spoke again. She always said you were trying to control my life, he murmured. That you wanted me dependent on you. I let the words settle before answering. Control doesn't look like sacrifice, I said quietly. And love doesn't ask for obedience. He nodded slowly as if replaying conversations in his head. She told me you cried to manipulate me, he continued. That your pain was exaggerated, strategic. I closed my eyes for a moment. Did you ever see me cry in front of you? I asked. He shook his head. No, he admitted. You always waited until I was asleep. That realization hit him harder than any accusation. She said you talked badly about her behind her back, he went on. That you were jealous, threatened by her. I let out a breath that trembled. If I feared anything, I said, it was losing you, not her. His jaw tightened. She said you wanted my money, he whispered, that you'd drain me dry if I let you. I looked at him then. Whose money paid for your education? I asked. Your first car? Your rent when you lost your job? His eyes filled again. Yours, he said. Did I ever ask for it back? No. Silence pressed between us. She said she was the only one who truly believed in me, he said, voice breaking. That everyone else saw me as weak. I placed my hand on his arm. I believed in you before you could walk, I said. I believed in you when you failed, when you fell, when you doubted yourself. Tears slid down his face now. She told me lies, he whispered. No, I corrected softly. She told you what your fears were already whispering. He covered his face. She studied me, he said. She knew exactly what to say. Yes, I replied. Because manipulation doesn't create weakness, it feeds on it. He looked at me then. truly looked. And you never used my fears against me, he said. No, I answered. That's the difference between love and control.